Welcome back to the Game Shopping Network. Now here's a new set of games that you can buy that'll look great on your shelf next to your copies of Monopoly and Scrabble. These games are by Griffin Games, and they're four really great new games. They're in a numbered series, 1, 2, 4, and 5, and you can collect them all, and they'll be great ways to spend lots of time with your family. Now, in this show, we're going to talk about all of these games, but we're going to focus mainly on Roll Through the Ages. Hi there, welcome to Board Games with Scott. This is a show where I take a game and explain it and review it, and my hope is to help you decide if it's a game you want to purchase. Now in this episode, I'm going to be doing something different. I'm going to be talking about all of these games from Griffin Games, 4 of them very briefly. And I'll focus mainly on Roll Through the Ages. They recently put out this set of games. Some of them have been reprints. Some were new games, and the idea is that they'll all look nice on your shelf. They're all presented in a consistent fashion. They're all designed to be about the same amount of time and the same difficulty, although the reality is Roll Through the Ages is significantly more challenging and longer than the other games in this series. Now, I'll first actually talk about Gem Dealer. This is a big disappointment to me compared to the rest of these games. All 4 of these games I would recommend. I would not recommend Gem Dealer. In Gem Dealer, you have cards that have a color and a value, and you're going to be bidding on a gem of a color. So someone will say, we're going to bid on a blue gem and begin to play blue cards. So you go around the table with each player playing more blue cards to stay in the bidding. But the trick is, after each bid, you draw another card. And so it may happen while you're still in the bidding that you draw blue 8,000, and you say, woo, I got a blue 8,000. All right, it's not that big, but a blue 9, a blue 5, that really increases your bid just as a surprise. And I found that this element took away a big chunk of the strategy in this game. So Gem Dealer, I would say to avoid. Money is a cool little set collecting game. You're trying to collect currencies from different countries. And so what happens on the game is everyone puts out a set of cards in front of them they don't want, and then one player gets to pick one of the other sets out, and then that player, whoever that set they picked, they get to pick a set, and then this person whose set that they pick, so let's say I pick your set, then you get to pick next from someone else's set, etc., until all the sets are gone, and there's some other sets in the middle of the table. You then put out a few new sets in the table, and you do it again. You're trying to collect sets of currency. Really nice little quick game. Now, High Society and For Sale are fairly similar games as far as their weight and feel. In High Society, everyone has money that you're going to bid on either good cards or you're going to bid to avoid bad cards. You'll go around, you'll bid through a series of cards. At the end of the game, you'll total up your good cards and get rid of your bad cards and see who wins. The trick with the game is that if you spent the most money, you lose the game, which is that's what makes this game really exciting, in that you want to bid on stuff, but you can't bid too much or you're definitely going to lose. For Sale is a bidding game that happens in 2 rounds, and what you win in the first round helps you in the second round. It's a very clever, light game. Now, all of these games have already been published in English before, so if you already have them, there's no reason to buy them in these formats. They're the same games. In fact, they're in much bigger boxes, because all of these were in small boxes before, and now they're these much larger things. And so they're also a little bit more pricey than they were in their first upbringing, so unless you want to have all of the matching boxes, if you already have these games, no reason to buy them again. If you don't, though, they're good additions to your collection if you're looking for some good filler games to play. Roll Through the Ages, however, is a new game, and slightly based off of the game Civilization, where you collect different sets of resources and you trade those in to get good stuff. It's a dice game. On your turn, you're going to roll these big, chunky wooden dice, and they take 2 hands to roll because they're so big. And the dice are going to give you money, they're going to give you goods and workers and food and maybe bad things. Every player has a really nice little wooden pegboard that they're going to use to mark how many of their resources that they have. And then you can spend your resources to buy stuff. You're going to have a sheet of paper which indicates how you mark what you've spent, and that's also going to indicate the points you've gotten throughout the game. So as the game goes on, you'll mark things on the sheet of paper that you bought, and things that you buy early can help you later in the game. Now, there's not a lot of interaction in the game. There's a little bit. There could be bad things you can do to other players and defenses that you can buy against those bad things. But for the most part, you're playing your own game. There is a trading variant, and so if you want to have some interaction, you can play with the trading variant, which allows you to trade goods with other players. The problem is this slows the game down. As it stands without the trading variant, it takes about 15 minutes per player to play the game. If you add the trading variant, you're probably going to double that time. So it could take 2 hours to play a 4-player game if you're really getting into the trading, which I think is way too much for this game. I say keep it without the trading variant and just play it as a light and friendly little dice game. The idea is that you could take it to a restaurant or a pub and play there because all the bits are these wooden things and pieces of paper. Now the rules come on a two-sided card like this, but then there's also these reference cards. And one thing is that these reference cards actually have a lot of information that are not in the rules because they're trying to adhere to this rule format for all their games. I think that's a bad idea. I hate having reference sheets that have things that are not in the rules. Don't like that at all because you can lose these and then you're stuck. And so don't do that again. Anyway, let's get into the game a little bit and I'll explain how it works. So in Roll Through the Ages, what you're going to do is you're going to roll these dice. You're going to roll dice once. Anything that has a skull on it you have to put aside. Then you can choose to re-roll up to all the rest of your dice. You can roll a second time, and then you can re-roll it a third time. Now, the dice are going to show you different things that you get. And so this gets you food, 3 food, because it's got 3 food symbols. This gets you 1 good. This gets you 3 people, 3 workers. This gets you some money, 7 monies, and you know that because your little sheet tells you that's worth 7 coins. This gets you 2 food or 2 people, and this is bad, ooh, the skull, but it also gets you 2 good, so it's good. So yay, boo. So that's how the turn goes. You're going to roll some dice, and the number of dice you roll is equal to the number of cities you have. You start the game with 3 cities, so when you start the game, you're going to roll 3 dice. And then if you get any skulls, you have to put them aside. You can re-roll. I might say, well, I'm going to go ahead and keep all of that. That seems pretty good. And then you mark what you keep. Now, the way this works is you have this pegboard to represent goods. That's this symbol here. For every good symbol you roll on a turn, you're going to get to move some of these pegs. If you roll 1 good symbol, then you get to move the bottom one over 1. And this is food. This doesn't count as a good. If you roll 2 good symbols, you move the bottom one over 1, and you move the second one up over 1. And then if you get 3, you get to move the first 3 all over 1. Now, these get more valuable as they go up. The number that you see here is the number of gold that it's worth when you turn it in to buy something. And so this bottom row is not worth, one of them is worth 1, 2 are worth 3, 3 are worth 6. It takes a while to build up. But if you can manage to get to the top row, the first one you do is worth 5, 2 are worth 15, 3 are worth 30. And 4 are worth 50. But these are tough because what that means is in order to be able to move that top one on your turn, you have to get 5 goods, and that would let you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is also where the skulls come in handy because the skulls are worth 2 goods. And so if you get a couple of these skulls, they can really help you. If you get 6, then you move all these up by 1 and move the bottom one again. At the end of your turn, you can only keep 6 goods. So right now I have 3 goods. Let's say I had managed to do that. Then I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 goods. That's what I could keep. If I have more, I have to get rid of them. Now, so the way this will work is on the next turn, if I manage to get 4 goods, I'd move that one, that one, that one, and this one. So what you want to do is you want to try and save these higher ones for future turns when you can really get a lot of points out of them. Now, at the end of your turn, you have to feed. And so that's what the food is used for. So you have to roll food, and you're going to start with 3 food. And at the end of your turn, you're going to spend food. The number of food you have to spend is equal to the number of cities that you have. So at the beginning, when you only have 3 cities, then it's not so bad. You have to spend 3 food per turn. But as the game goes on, you're going to have to spend more and more food to keep your people happy. And you're going to get food by rolling the food on the dice. Again, there's one side with 3 food, and there's another side with 2 food and 2 people. So on your turn, here's the order of play. You're going to roll dice, and then you're going to feed your cities and resolve any disasters that you have. I haven't talked about those yet. You're going to build cities, and then you can buy development and discard any goods. And so on your turn, let's say I rolled 4 workers. I could spend 3 of those workers to cross off these 3 boxes, and that would give me a 4th dice for future turns. Now I can also spend my workers to earn points. So I can send my workers off to make monuments. And so if I could, let's say I had 4 workers, I could cross off these 4 boxes. It's not complete yet, but once I get that last box, if I'm the first one done, I get the bigger number of points. If I'm the second one done or someone else, then I get a smaller number of points. And so the more workers you decide to commit to, the more points they can be worth. This particular monument also has an effect. It helps you with something called an invasion. Now another thing you can do is you can buy developments, and so this is where you're going to spend your goods for. If you notice at the bottom of each number of goods is a number here. So if I were to spend these goods, I get 24 gold. The coins are also worth 7 gold towards that, and you can't save the coins from round to round. When I spend resources toward a good, I have to spend everything. So let's say I wanted to buy something that cost 20, and I was going to spend this blue. I can't just move it down 1 and spend 12. I have to completely clear it out and spend 24, and I'm going to lose the extra stuff. So here's the amount that these things cost, from 10 up to 60. And again, if you roll coins, they're worth 7, but only that turn, and then you spend your resources. So these do different things. Leadership gives you a reroll. Irrigation prevents a drought, which I haven't talked about yet. Agriculture makes your feeding more effective. Quarrying makes your gathering of stone, which is one of the resource types, more effective. Medicine helps you avoid a disaster, which I'll talk about. Coinage makes your coins worth 12. So once you buy coinage, your coins are all worth more. Caravans let you keep as many goods as you want. There's a bad thing that can happen called a revolt, and if you have religion, it affects the other people. Granaries let you sell food for money, so if you have extra food that you don't need, you can get some money for it. Masonry gives you extra workers. Engineering lets you spend stone for workers. And then the architecture and empire give you some bonus points at the end of the game. Now remember those skulls I talked about earlier? If you roll skulls, you have to keep them. And at the end of your turn, if you rolled 2 skulls, you're going to have bad things happen. Now if you can't feed all your cities, you take a -1 point per city. So remember, you have to have 3 food if you have 3 cities. If you don't have that, you're going to take some minus points. If you roll 1 skull, nothing happens. But 2 skulls is a drought. You lose 2 points. 3 skulls is pestilence, but it's -3 points to everyone else. So actually 2 skulls is bad for you, 4 skulls is bad for you, 3 skulls is not so bad for you. It hurts everyone else. 4 skulls is an invasion. You lose 4 points. 5 or more skulls is a revolt. You lose all your goods. Bad. Unless, of course, you've happened to have religion. Because you know God, and God sends the bad things to other people. Yay! So that's the way the game works. You're going to have to make some choices during the game, because when one person buys 5 developments, the game ends. And so you can buy developments, but you're not going to get too many of them. The game is won by points. You're going to get points for the number of developments you have. You're going to get points for your monuments and maybe some bonuses. If you've got a lot of cities and you've got empire, that may give you some points. You're going to subtract off disasters. Now, disasters are those things I showed you earlier. So as you can't feed your people, you mark off squares. And as bad things happen, if you get invaded, you mark off squares, and that's a minus to your score. Then at the end, you score it up, and whoever has the most points wins. So that's Roll Through the Ages. I think it's a nice, light dice game. I do enjoy this kind of game where you're rolling dice, and because you're buying developments to help you later on, each time you play, you might want to try something different. So it seems like it's got a nice life to it. I do like the chunky components. I like the fact that once you know it, you could take it somewhere and play it. The dice are a little big, a little unwieldy, but it's kind of fun to roll them with 2 hands. Whee! Wasn't that fun? So that's it for the Griffin games. And so you may ask, well, how do these games stack up anyway? Well, fairly nicely, because they're in boxes that are all the same size. 4 out of 5 ain't bad. So with that, I'll let you go, and I'll talk to you again another episode of Board Games with Scott. To find more of these things, head over to BoardGamesWithScott.com. Thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Curious to see where this goes, because it's labeled Roll Through the Ages, the Bronze Age, which means if it's popular, we may see future ages. The Information Age, which actually I would like, because I'm a professor at the iSchool, the information school at Syracuse University. And so let's Roll Through the Ages, the Information Age. That's what I think about that.